It's not the ability to speak 8 languages. It's not speed reading or speed typing or speed walking. It's not maths or investing. It's not making friends or love. Well, these are indeed pretty important skills, some of them very important. But I think there is one skill for me that I think enables any human to do all of these things. And that is the ability to create motivation, to create from within ourselves the drive, the energy to want to do something like learn a language or go to the gym regularly. But here's the thing, if I do my tax return next week, it's because the deadline is coming up and I know that if I don't do it, I'll get fined lots of money. I'm not excited about doing it. I do not want to do it. Nothing about that makes me in any way enthused. But the point is that I'm motivated to do it because of fear of the consequences. Motivation does not have to be noble. It doesn't have to be this noble cause to change the world or feel fulfilled. It can be to provide for your family, just to survive, to make it through. All of those are hugely powerful motivators. And those are things that throughout this video I want to harness. How can we tap into our fear of failure? How can we tap into guilt and these feelings which are natural human emotions to make ourselves motivated? So yeah, I'm going to share 5 of the best habits that I've picked up from a few different books that I've read around this concept of motivation and creating motivation for ourselves. 2 by a guy called Brendon Burchard, The Motivation Manifesto and 6 Habits of Growth, and 1 by David Robson called The Expectation Effect. These habits are all effectively triggers to create motivation so that we then do these desirable but often not particularly enjoyable habits. So for me, the first step to creating motivation for myself is to really increase my ambition, to raise my ambitions. And I do that through visualization. So before I lose you and you think, oh, visualization, I've heard this before, kind of imagining the future and having to sort of manifest these things into reality just by imagining them. Give me a second, because these habits that I'm going to go through that sort of compound on one another. This is sort of the basis and really about making our ambition conscious and really thinking about where we want to be in 3 and 5 years' time. There's this question that Brendon Burchard asked in his book that I found really, really powerful. And it is, have you at any point in the last few weeks or months thought that your life is going to get considerably better? And the answer, at least when I sort of thought about this, I kind of thought, I don't know that I have. So over the last couple of months, I really have made this idea of raising ambitions part of my daily routine, something that I practice on a daily basis, or at least a few times a week. Generally on a morning walk for 5 minutes, or if I'm not going out on a walk one morning, just before I leave the house, go to the gym or go to work. I just think for 2 to 5 minutes about, okay, where do I see myself in 6 months or 3 years or 5 years? And I really focus on different aspects. So I focus on work, and I think that's what I see myself doing. I see myself as this confident professional who knows the law really well. I then think about my body and I think, yes, I see myself as a very happy kind of body confident person who is really happy in how they look and feel. I think about my relationships and where I want those to be. And I think about my business, my YouTube channel and Menos, that is, and really reflect on where do I see those being in 3 or 5 years. And I finish this process full of motivation, I have so many reasons to get up, to start my day, to do all of these things, to build that amazing future that I can see for myself. So when you are envisaging what your amazing future looks like, there are 3 things to look out for. And these are things that Burchard in his book talks about, kind of tons of evidence around how people limit themselves based on these 3 factors. The first is your past. So for me, for example, when I think about my businesses, my YouTube channel and Menos, I often find myself reflecting on the past, the failures that I have had. So I developed a whole web app and thought it was going to be this huge thing for schools to use. And ultimately the business failed. So maybe I'm just not cut out for it and I should just do my day job and forget about the rest of this. So it's not really a question of doing anything with these kind of thoughts of the past that slip in. It's just really being conscious that they're there and knowing that everyone has had failures and that's okay. Just focus on what you want your future to look like and really trying to decouple your present and your future from your past. The second thing to think about is your present circumstances, like what pain are you feeling right now that means you won't ever be able to get to that point in the future. Here, I guess it's just a question of harnessing pain points that you have in your life and using those as motivation to get to where you see yourself. And the third thing that can creep in when you're imagining your future is also limiting beliefs based on what others have told you about yourself. So friends who have told you you'll never be successful at that, or your parents who feel like you're lazy, or whatever it is, those limiting beliefs, it's so easy to internalize. Be conscious of them, be aware of them, and know that they are just someone's opinion. They are not the truth. So yeah, start raising your ambitions on a daily basis. Start thinking every day, every morning, okay, this is where I can see myself in 6 months' time. This is what I'll feel like in 3 years' time. This is what I'll be doing in 5 years' time. I now have a clear picture. I have a reason. I have a vision for a better life. That ultimately is highly motivating and will give you some fuel every morning to go about your day and try to ultimately realize that better version of your life that you can see for yourself. Before we go on to the rest of the habits, I want to tell you about a tool that's been huge for me in keeping me focused and motivated to work productively. Rize, today's sponsor. Rize tracks all of the time you spend on your laptop and feeds back to you on how you are spending your time. It's essentially tracking your level of focus and acts as a digital accountability partner. Rize is super simple to set up on either Windows or Mac, and as soon as it is set up, it starts automatically tracking and categorizing your work activities in real time. I talk a lot on this channel about deep work and the importance of focusing for prolonged periods on single tasks rather than multitasking. And with Rize, you'll get a daily focus score with in-depth metrics showing how much you switch between tasks, so you can identify areas where you can improve. Rize's automatic break notifications help prevent burnout, and honestly, just as a whole app experience, it's pretty amazing. It's beautiful, really intuitive, a no-brainer for any students or workers looking to maximize focus and productivity. So yeah, you can use my code LiamPorritt or the link in the description to be one of the first 1,000 people to get a 25% discount off your first 3 months with Rize. Okay, habit number 2 is to regularly socialize your goals. So you know that feeling on New Year's Day, assuming you are not horrendously hungover, as I often am, but like that aside, I feel super energized about my goals for the year because I've spent maybe 2 weeks before the new year thinking about what I want to achieve next year, thinking about my goals, thinking about the habits I'm going to work on. I've talked a lot to people about them because people say, what are your New Year's resolutions going to be? What are you going to try and achieve in the new year? Obviously, as a YouTuber, I often make a video about it. So I kind of get pumped for the year by just socializing like what I want to achieve. And I think we can, and I do on a regular basis, make that kind of new year feeling like much more regular than just once a year. So with Beth, we have like a monthly catch up where we talk about our goals, we talk about our progress, and we talk about things we want to work towards that month and over the next few months. And then similarly with a guy called Jay, I will generally see him or call him at least once every quarter, and we'll run through everything we've been working on, all of our goals, and then we'll set out like where are we going over the next 3 or 6 months. And every time I have one of these meetings with Beth, I have one of these chats with Beth, or I have one of these calls or meetings with Jay, I really feel like so energized and motivated. I feel like there are 3 real benefits to having these regular focuses on our goals. The first is that it actually makes you think about your goals. Like once a month, I have to think, what am I going to tell Beth? What am I going to say I want to work on? When I'm going to speak to Jay, what can I say since the last time we spoke I've actually achieved? What have I done and where do I want to go? The second benefit is I think it builds in some accountability. Every time I speak to them, I want to be able to say, yes, I'm now benching 80 kgs rather than 60 kgs at the gym. And finally, I think when you have these maybe a month or 3 months apart, it's actually a long enough period of time where you can think, okay, next time I speak to Jay in 3 months' time, I can have made noticeable gains at the gym or noticeable improvements in my business or increased my subscriber numbers or at work done some really impressive work over a 3-month period. The third habit is to create expectation. And when I think about expectation, I really think about 2 types. The first is kind of external expectation, which is things that other people expect of me. So my parents, Beth, my friends, my colleagues. So all of these kind of external forces can act on on me to make me feel, yes, okay, somewhat pressured, maybe stressed at times. But I think they can be really positive in the sense of, if I have people who are expecting me to look a certain way, feel a certain way, be a certain way, act a certain way, and ultimately achieve certain things, that is a really powerful force. And then the second type is more internal expectations, which is just effectively, what do I expect of myself? When I think about what I'm able to do, what I will do with my life, how do I expect myself to behave? What do I expect myself to achieve? First off, there are tons of studies that I was reading about when I was prepping for this video about the power of expectations. And two, I just want to really quickly share, because I just think they're kind of crazy in showing how powerful expectation is. The first is led by a guy called Ted Kapchuk, who has been at the forefront of placebo research for around 20 years. So he and a bunch of other academics in 2021 ran a study in which they were testing open label placebo. So in a normal experiment where they're testing medication, they will often give a drug to one set of patients and a placebo to another, because placebo, we all know, like, there is some effect on the body just by thinking that you are getting the drug even if you aren't. This study tested what happens if we tell people who have a condition they are getting a placebo. That's why it's called open label placebo. And they actually found that in certain patients with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, the placebo, even though they knew it was a placebo, did indeed have a positive effect on their symptoms. That was how strong people's expectation was that there would be a placebo effect, i.e., just the expectation that something would happen, the expectation that there would be a placebo effect, was enough to mean that people felt a physical change in the symptoms of a pretty severe illness. And the second study was one in which they cited a bunch of other studies, basically just showing the weight of evidence, showing how strong the correlation is between parental expectation, i.e. expectation that your child will perform academically, achieve big things, and the actual results of children. So how can you create expectation for yourself? Well, I always start with external expectation. So a good example is my YouTube channel. I actually started when Ali Abdaal was on around 250,000 subscribers. And as much as people in the early days like to say that we had some kind of feud, actually, Ali, I have his number, was super helpful. I went to visit him in Cambridge. Like, I drove 2 hours to go and see him. I had quite regular calls with him to chat through how my channel was going. And I really used him and Jay, the guy I mentioned earlier, as accountability partners in terms of feeling like I had external expectations on me. I was using their time to discuss what I would make content about and talk about this YouTube business I was going to build. And so I felt like I had external expectation on me to make videos, to try and improve the quality of my videos, to perform well. When I have historically wanted to get fit, I've, for example, played a team sport where, like, you kind of feel like you're letting your team down if you aren't fit. Sign up to a 10K or a marathon if you want to get into running. You will have people who are giving you money who expect you to run that race, and you kind of then have no choice. Or if you want to be productive, create a little study group on WhatsApp or create a little study account on Instagram, which is what I did originally. I created study time lapses, videos of me filming myself, which people expected me to release every day. And so I had to have this period of studying productively because people were going to watch these videos. Again, I found a way to build external expectation into my life to make me more productive. And for me, I think this external expectation then gradually evolves into internal expectation. So now I make videos without thinking about Ali Abdaal or Jay particularly, because I now expect myself to do it. I've built a pretty strong habit of doing it regularly, of thinking of ideas for videos, of coming up with concepts. I now enjoy doing it. I'm now hopefully kind of good at it. So, I think that kind of sense that I've got better at something, I improved at something, I've seen growth in my channel and people responding really positively to it, combined with just building a habit of doing it regularly over a period because I had people having external expectations of me, means that now it's an internal expectation. Fourth habit is to compound motivation by reflecting on progress. So I made a video previously called How to Change Your Life in 6 Months, the progress equals happiness equation. And it is that equation that I want to focus on here. Basically the sense that when you are making progress, you feel like you're moving towards goals. You need to take time, and I generally do this again on my morning walk when I kind of do habit one of thinking about the future. I also reflect on, like, how far have I come over the last 3, 6 months, a year even. Thinking over these kind of longer time spans as to how far you've come is hugely motivating because you see so much more progress over those kind of time periods than you do in the day-to-day ups and downs of life. I also track how much progress I'm making with my habits through the Done apps. And a final point on progress I just want to mention, I've already mentioned him once in this video, but Ali Abdaal has this concept that he's used a few times in his videos of the flywheel. And it's a really strong visual that's kind of just like stuck with me whenever I think about progress. It's this idea that like it's really hard to make that first crank of a flywheel. Like it's really hard to get any momentum, but as soon as you get it going, it goes faster and faster and faster with less and less force. And I think that's the sense of progress that I always try to keep in mind when I'm struggling at the start of doing something and I know like, oh, this is such a pain. Like I really can't be bothered to go to the gym because I'm out of practice. I haven't been for a month. It's gonna be painful. I just try to keep in my head, it will be a flywheel. Once I've been 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, it will get a bit easier and I'll start to build the habit and I'll start to feel stronger. And the final habit of this video is to regain motivation by doing nothing. I think when you get to a point, and I've had this a few times over the last few years, where you are just absolutely shattered, you are so tired, you are in this negative spiral of feeling bad about yourself. You try to go to the gym and it's miserable because it's kind of painful and you're tired and you don't really get anywhere, so you don't go again. I think at that point, you kind of need to be like, okay, I'm going backwards here. And in order to go forwards, I need to stop. And I think using that as a visual of, you know, when you feel yourself spiraling downwards or backwards, in order to go forwards or upwards, you need to first be stationary. And I generally think that 3 or 4 days, call it a 4-day reset, is about right, just to do nothing, to be healthy, to reset your life before then you're able to be motivated. Make very few plans, if any. Go on long walks, eat healthily, just enjoy some time to yourself. Watch some TV that you really enjoy. Relax, breathe, take some time to yourself. Maybe go and see some friends who make you smile for a couple of hours. Enjoy just a weekend of little, and then you'll hopefully have a little bit more energy to come back with more focus to then feel motivated in your life and start moving forward. So to quickly recap the 5 habits to be able to create motivation, which I believe is the most important skill anyone could ever have. First of all, start to visualize on a daily basis where you are going to be in 3 or 5 years' time. What does your life want to look like? How will you feel in your body, physically, mentally? What will you be doing at work? What relationships will you have? Try to really solidify in your mind where you want to go. Raise your ambition and do this every single day while you're meditating or while you're out on a walk or while you're brushing your teeth. Second, socialize your goals with your loved ones and with your friends. Talk about where you want to get to, what you want to achieve, what you're focused on. And really, I find just talking to other people gets me inspired, makes me feel motivated to want to do those things. Third, create expectations. So create external expectation by telling people what you're going to do. Commit to run a half marathon, commit to making a video a week, commit to doing something, and then know that there's external expectation on you, which forces you to do the habit, to train, to commit to studying hard. Build external expectation on yourself, and then know that as you do the habit, as you do the thing over time and you improve, that will grow into internal expectation. Fourth, compound motivation by reflecting on your progress. Do this regularly. I recommend at least a few times a week. Think about how far you've come over the last 6 months to 5 years. And finally, if you need to regain motivation by doing nothing, have a 4-day reset where you really take care of yourself. If you feel like you're going backwards, remember, you need to stop first before you can go forwards. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. Please do drop a comment down below letting me know what you thought. Give it a like. It honestly helps the video get seen by loads more people and me to help people and hopefully kind of grow my audience, which is a huge goal for me. It really helps. I honestly appreciate you. I read all of your comments, so please do leave one, and I really look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon.